Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
it loud with a mic and a mission that makes us proud. Talk for the people, talk that's real. The Rick Robinson Show, where we say what we feel.
Great way to start a Friday with a technical issue, but we're here. We're live. We figured it out. My name is Rick Robinson. It is Friday. It's also Friday, December 19th, so we got a lot going on today. So we've got the 2 hours with me here. We've got the Weekend News Roundup at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then I'll be back tonight playing The Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, live right here on KLINradio.com. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. It's the Friday before Christmas, man. Already. It's a Friday before Christmas. And the funny thing is, my 5-year-old granddaughter said to me the other day, I can't believe it's already almost Christmas time. Seems like just it came so fast this year. I'm like, yeah, if you think it came fast when you were 5, wait till you're 50-something. I feel like we do 5 Christmases a year, and I blink, and it's Christmas time again. Anyway, we're here, we're live, and even though it's been a rough few weeks, I'm finally starting to get a little bit into the Christmas spirit. So on first break, I actually have a Christmas song written specifically for KLIN Radio, and I will talk more about that probably either before or after I play it, because there's a story behind it. There's something that happened back when I was running the talk side on K98 Talk and working with another guy who was running the music side on K98 FM. And believe it or not, streaming radio saved a life a few Christmases ago. So that's kind of what inspired the Christmas song for the network that I'm going to be playing later today. Hope everybody likes it. Took some tweaking, got a few different things going on. Also, have a working version of a first responder song, so we will be playing that probably as the intro for hour 2, actually, because it's mine. I can play it whenever I want, but it's not completely done yet, but I like it enough that I still want to play it anyway. I thought I had the lyrics really locked in, and then once we started the recording process, I was like, that could be a little tighter. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to fix it. Or not really fix it, because it came out really, really well. It's just, I feel like the lyrics need a bit of polish, so we're not quite done with it yet. Gonna play that today anyway. And actually, I take that back. We may do that for the break and then play the Christmas song coming into hour 2, because I still have to download the one that I want to play, because there are several different takes for these things to get them the way that I want them. And then usually what winds up happening is I wind up figuring out how to blend 2 of the takes together, and then it turns into what I actually kind of want. But anyway, so we're here, we're live, and we have a chatter already. Let's see who's here. We have a Raptor sighting. Good morning, Raptor, sir. How are you? Happy Friday before Christmas, sir. Happy weekend incoming, sir. Speaking of Friday before Christmas, next week's schedule is going to be a little weird. I will likely do a Monday, Tuesday show. I may or may not do a Christmas Eve morning show, but I will be off after that. Probably other than Weekend News Roundup on Friday, and then maybe he said, she said, if Aggie wants to do that. So my Christmas schedule is all weird this year. So normally I have like 4 million places I have to be, either Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, bouncing back and forth. And this year everything worked out to where I get to stay home on Christmas and just open presents with my kids and my grandkids. And we're going to do a small Christmas lunch here. And then the next day we go over to my youngest son's house where all the major hosting's happening. Well, not next day. I guess we're doing that on Saturday. Because everybody's like, we're not trying to do all that this year, so we're just going to do it all after. I'm like, I don't really care. All my kids are grown now. Y'all figure out how you want to do this. Yeah, it's not bad here either, Raptor, to be honest. I mean, for December, it's not bad at all. It's above freezing. We're actually supposed to be like anywhere between 73 to 75 degrees on Christmas. So I kind of feel like I've moved to Florida and nobody told me, except for the cedar allergies, which is, again, the bad thing about it being cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm is the trees keep having orgies and I keep being invited and I don't like that. But anyway. All right, so let's take a quick trip around the headlines. I have to be honest, it's been kind of an interesting night because I was busy working on some other stuff and busy working on stuff this morning. So, first thing we're going to do is kind of take a look at the headlines. So, this is interesting. I guess according to a town hall sheet, it looks like Bernie Sanders is kind of taking some flack for refusing to help kids with cancer. This is from Amy Curtis, who will be joining us for the Weekend News Roundup later. So I don't want to go too far into this because it may be one of the ones she wants to talk about later, but we'll discuss it anyway. So I guess Senator Sanders is the Grinch this year. The Vermont socialist who's championed healthcare as a right and wants Medicare for all suddenly found a group of people he doesn't want to have access to healthcare. And apparently it's kids with cancer. Holy crap. So yeah, you heard that right. A week before Christmas, Bernie Sanders cast the vote that blocked the bipartisan Michaela Neyland Give Kids a Chance Act. In a press release from Senator Mullen, the Give Kids a Chance Act would have improved outcomes for children with cancer by advancing or promoting critical research and ensuring they have access to essential treatments. Senator Mullen requested unanimous consent to pass the legislation, and Sanders objected. Why? Well, of course, because it was all about Obamacare. So apparently we have a clip. So hang on. Apparently there is a clip. I like Amy too. I miss working with her at Twitchy, but I'm glad to see Amy and I ran in the same circles now for over a decade. So seeing her get where she's getting to is kind of fun to watch because she focused more on the writing side. I focused more on the podcasting side. I think she's winning. Not really, because I have a bunch of different things going on. So anyway, pardon me. Here we go.
Literally killing kids in front of us because of his political movement. And it is ridiculous.
Therefore, Mr. President, I ask that the request be modified, that my amendment at the desk be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered read a third time and passed, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection to the modification?
I reserve the right to object.
I recognize the senator from Oklahoma.
You know, Mr. President, everything that the senator from Vermont just wrote about was why I think he supported affordable health care, a.k.a. Obamacare. I thought it was supposed to fix all this stuff that he's wrote about, and we figured out it hasn't. It's wrecked the system. It's unaffordable for the American people. Yet it was the Democrats that sold the American people on it. Not us, not the Republicans, sold the American people on it. It's been disastrous. And so now he wants to hold kids that are dying of rare diseases and pediatric cancer. Want to hold them hostage to now try to push his agenda farther and not go through the committee of jurisdiction, but hold the kids hostage. The kids. Everything the senator from Vermont just talked about was political. I'm talking about lives. I'm talking about giving kids a chance to live an extra day or a lifetime. That's what I'm talking about. This isn't nothing to do with politics. Nothing. Nothing I'm talking about has to do with politics. This has to do with kids. Yet my senator from Vermont wants to make it about politics. You know, this time of the year at Christmas, we talk about Grinches all the time, right? They go in and they steal the kids' gifts. But at the end of the show, their hearts grow bigger and they give the gifts back. And they allow kids to be excited about Christmas morning. What's happened right here in front of us, the Grinch is still in kids' lives, and they're still in hope from the families. Hope from the families that might have an opportunity just to try for a political agenda. And I hope to God that every single family that's going through this will hold the senator from Vermont accountable, and the state of Vermont will hold him accountable too, because he's playing with kids' lives. He's literally killing kids in front of us because of his political movement. And it is ridiculous, and therefore I object.
You know, I don't always agree with Mark Wayne Mullins. Today is one of the days that I do believe I agree with him, though, because this is kind of nuts. It really is. because for the senator from Vermont to be screaming over and over again about how everyone should have access to healthcare, just to go, yeah, those kids with cancer, yeah, not them, not them. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. They use these talking points and these different narrative points to tug at the heartstrings of the bleeding hearts to go, oh, we have to help them. And then until it becomes time to help them. And then they're like, yeah, no, we can't actually do that. Kind of like what New York City's finding, now that they've elected the socialist mayor who said, elect me and I'm going to do this, and you won't have to pay for any of it. Now that he's been elected, he's like, well, really, we don't really know if we're going to be able to do any of those things. But thank you for your vote. Oh, and remember when I said you could stop sending us money? Yeah, you can start doing that again. I still need your cabbage, bros. I All right, so anyway. I know. Not a very happy topic for Christmas time. Hey, we have a Denny sighting too. No, well, actually, I will be singing part of that later. I haven't decided which part of it I'm going to sing because I'm not going to sing the whole thing. But there are singing parts, so I'm going to figure out which part of the song I like the most, and I will likely be singing that later. Well, so, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, those darned billionaire cancer kids. Anyway, you know what? Since everybody's here and it's kind of a loose little Friday and I'm just kind of having some fun today, I'm going to do something real quick. I want to play you guys the Christmas song that I just finished writing, and then I will explain some of some of the lyrics are the way that they are. And then, because, yeah, I actually will probably play this a couple of times today. This isn't going to be your normal show. It's a Friday. It's a little looser. We're going to talk about things as they come across. But it's also a few days before Christmas, so I do want to kind of have a little fun since I missed the entire Thanksgiving because of everything, the entire Thanksgiving theme because of everything that was going on with me. But so this is something that was just put together by the KLR radio players and was just finalized last night. It's a little long, which is why I decided I'm going to go ahead and play it now. But I like every second of it, and I hope you guys like it too. So here we go.
It was the night before Christmas, KLRN radio, the studio quiet, the lights burning low. The mics were all mounted, the board set just right, in hopes that a live show might spark into life.
The headphones lay resting, each coil with great care. My playlist slept softly inside the main chair.
The hosts had all vanished, home tucked in their beds, while ratings and rundowns danced in engineers' heads. The coffee sat cooling long past its prime, beside blinking meters still keeping their time. And the clock on the wall, with a soft ticking chord, seemed cheerful with hope, yet a little bit bored. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN radio, where the night shift hums and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company, one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN radio, where the ghosts of old Andre still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial still knows how to keep.
And out in the hallway there came such a sound. a chair gently rolling, no one around.
A mic arm swung slightly, a script page was turned, like the room still remembered the lessons it learned. The monitors flickered, then settled just right. Every level in balance, no hiss, no fight.
The studios dream when the world's fast asleep.
This one holds stories it promised to keep. You know, studios don't really sleep, they just wait. They remember every laugh that bounced off these walls, every breaking story that hit 5 minutes too late, every quiet night when someone stayed up just to keep the lights on.
Because somewhere out there, someone's awake longer than they planned, wondering if anyone else is still listening.
And that's when radio does what it's always done, it stays. Somewhere a listener sat up too late, a radio glowing past midnight's gate.
The house was asleep, the tree still lit, just one quiet soul keeping company with it.
No big celebration, no perfect night, just a voice through the dark
Saying,
you're alright. And the studio did what it's always done, left a light on till the night was done. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the night shift hums and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company, one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the ghost of old road trees still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial that still knows how to keep. From our little studio, warm and sincere, Merry Christmas to all. And thanks for being here.
All right, so that was A Night Before Christmas at KLRN Radio. You might have noticed it's kind of somber for a Christmas song, but there's a reason. Before we rebranded and I parted ways with my former business partner, I was running K98 Talk and he was running K98 FM. So this was 2013, I believe. And so we had decided, and it was, I believe it was actually Christmas Eve, because he wanted something running and I wasn't going to be available. So we were simulcasting on both K98 FM and K98 Talk. And at one point, he started getting first chat notifications and then eventually a phone call from a teenage boy who was just despondent on Christmas Eve. For some reason, his parents, it's been so long, I don't remember all of it. I just remember the parts that stuck with me. But for some reason, this teenage boy was left home alone while his parents were off doing something Christmas related. And he was just despondent to the point where he basically found our feedback when it was really just Spreaker only and then tied to a website, and started chatting with the host at the time, who was simulcasting through both of our feeds, his and mine. And eventually kids started opening up, and the host set it up to where the kid could call in, and they just talked back and forth about a whole bunch of things, for over an hour. But at one point, the kid admitted that he was considering ending his life that night until he started talking to the host. Um, and so I didn't find out most of this until the next day because, like I said, it was Christmas Eve. I was out doing it. This is when my kids were still all young and home, and we had a million places to be. So he starts blowing up my phone text message wise while I'm hanging out at my wife's grandma's house. And I had no idea what was going on. So I get home, get all the Christmas stuff done once the kids go to bed. So he's a night owl like me. So we talked afterwards. Just like, you would not believe what happened to me tonight. He said, I'm pretty sure that we just saved a life. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I had a kid who was listening to the feeds whenever I decided I wanted to do the Christmas stuff, because he was, interspersing Christmas music and talk and all that stuff and playing it on all of it. And he said at one point, the whole thing just took over the show. And basically I kept him talking and kept him on the phone until his parents got home. And that moment always kind of stuck with me because a lot of you know what I used to do. And that's one reason why I'm so heavy on first responders, whether it's dispatchers, EMS, fire, police, even private security, in my opinion, should be considered first responders because they usually go places other people won't and do jobs other people don't want to do. They run towards danger when everybody else is running away, or they at least put themselves in the middle of danger, even if they're doing it over the phone. So the fact that something that had really just gotten started as far as the brand itself, because the brand was fairly new when this happened. And as you guys know the story, this was a friend of mine that I had known for forever who was doing FM style radio broadcast on Live 365 back. He'd been doing it since the dial up into DSL. And I started pitching the idea of doing the same thing in a talk format, and he thought I was nuts. So then I found out a way to start doing it on my own with some help. And he liked the concept so much that we partnered for several years. But realizing that even doing something like this could, and I admit this is a rare circumstance, but even doing something like this and realizing that an idea of mine that everybody thought was nuts in the beginning may have actually saved a life has always stuck with me. And that's why part of the lyrics are the way they are for this song about, it's here even when nobody else is. Because a lot of times, even on the nights that we're not live broadcasting, you guys can still find us and go find something to listen to. And then usually for especially holidays like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, we usually just rerun all of our Christmas specials. Speaking of which, perfect time to plug it. Make sure you're back tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for The Wizard of Oz through the KLRN radio players. But that's actually the basis for this song. K98 Talk is now defunct, so I just use the call letters that we have now. At least my version of it is. I think it still exists. I think he may have handed it off to somebody else, but because I was seeing stuff from it for a while, but I haven't in about a year, so I don't know. All right, so that's enough about that. I'm over here trying not to get choked up, so let's move on. So this happened, and I didn't know it was, but it's cool. So this just came out at about 7 my time. This is from Jeff Charles. So President Donald, and this is from Town Hall, by the way. President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order. He signed a couple of them. We'll get into the other one in a second. But this one I thought was kind of more important. Thursday signed an executive order declaring that the United States would send another team of astronauts to the moon by 2028. The move is a part of a long-running effort to reassert American dominance over space. The order would also establish initial elements of a permanent lunar outpost by 2030 and the deployment of nuclear reactors on the moon and in orbit, including a lunar surface reactor ready for launch by 2030. The purpose of the order is to ensure America's ability to detect, characterize, and counter the full range of security threats to U.S. space interests. So I don't mean to turn this into a juxtaposition episode for a second, but we're going to back up to this line right here. The purpose of the order is to ensure America's ability to detect, characterize, and counter the full range of security threats to U.S. space interests. Now, I know as far as what they think they're talking about is, China's when back in the space race run, Russia never really left it. So there's that. But I just, again, find this really interesting that, because I've said this for a while. I don't really understand the need for a space force when we don't really have a presence in space other than satellites, as far as we are being told, and just other than the International Space Station. So I think there might be more going on there, boys and girls, but we'll save that for juxtaposition. So Trump is directing NASA to use the existing Artemis program as the primary vehicle for this endeavor. The order indicates that this is a crucial step towards sending missions to Mars. The president also swore in Jared Isaacman, entrepreneur, pilot, and commercial astronaut, as his NASA administrator. So that's actually not a terrible move, from what I know about the man. And I quote, "A return to the moon for sure. We want to do that before 2028. In fact, we have a mission, Artemis 2, that's set to launch in the very near future," Isaacman said during an appearance on Fox News. "It will be the first time we send American astronauts around the moon in more than half a century." And I believe we may actually have a clip for that, I think. So hang on, let's find out together. No comment about what? What did I miss?
First day on the job, and I'm in the Oval Office as the president signs a national space policy. I'm just thrilled for the opportunity.
You know, the president has laid out some of his vision for space superiority, return to the moon by 2028, a permanent lunar outpost by 2030. I would love to hear from you what your vision, what is the checklist of accomplishments you would like to see for NASA?
Well, I am completely aligned with President Trump's vision. This national space policy he signed today, and I can say this, a lifelong space enthusiast and astronaut, is probably the most significant national space policy since the Kennedy era. So my objective is to ensure that President Trump's vision is achieved, and ideally ahead of schedule. So you talked about a return to the moon. For sure, we want to do that before 2028. In fact, we have a mission, Artemis 2, that's set to launch in the very near future. It'll be the first time we send American astronauts around the moon in more than a half century. We want to follow that up with a landing, and perhaps, one of the most important parts of this new space policy is when they get there, it's not just to plant the flag and pick up some rocks, but establish the infrastructure, establish a lunar base, and all the other things like our nuclear propulsion and nuclear power investments, so we can set up missions beyond Moon and to Mars.
Help me understand the significance of American presence on the moon. I recently had a conversation, Mr. Administrator, with Avi Loeb, who's a theoretical physicist from Harvard University. He's been covering, as you know, the 3I Atlas comet, monitoring it and its data for signs of anything that is not of natural origin. And he pointed out to me we should have much bigger goals. We should have much bigger goals than the moon. We should even have much bigger goals than Mars. We should be out there, much deeper in space, really probing the universe to see if we are alone.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. That is fundamentally NASA's mission, is to go out and unlock the secrets of the universe. Now, there's a lot of space out there, right? And I think the president's national space policy have set the right priorities for us to go out and do those grand endeavors. So we're not just going back to the moon the way we did, more than a half century ago. The president says, get there, establish the infrastructure so we can stay this time. He said, make investments in nuclear power, nuclear propulsion, so we can launch missions, not just to enable commercial industry and American astronauts to go to Mars, which is part of the president's vision, but go beyond it. The farther we get away from our sun, the less we can rely on solar forms of power, the less we can rely on chemical propulsion, the more we're going to need nuclear propulsion, and that is a big part of the president's national space policy. And there's also a major commitment in it into science, right? Everybody loves the Hubble Space Telescope and James Webb and more rovers, on Mars, where we could be at some point in the future, arrive at the most consequential discovery in human history. So the president has put a ton of resources behind that. Our job at NASA is to work with the best and brightest across the nation to see it through.
What do you?
All right, so since we already took one of the music breaks, I want to talk about this for a second, because This is something that has bothered me for a long time. And that is, you have to realize we're talking about 1969. So we are headed towards what? How many years is that? This is already 2025. So we're talking about almost 70 years, I think, if I'm doing the math right. I think. I think. Let's see. 70 to 2000 will be 30. 30 to, or yeah, so 2024. So 54. So what? That would be 54 years, I guess. So I guess my math was a little off. Is kind of where we are right now. If I'm doing the math right, and it's Friday, not Sunday, so I make no promises about my math. But the fact that it's been a half century since we've even considered going back to the moon. And here's the thing, if we are really going to become an interplanetary species, and I think we should, especially because, people are retarded, it's going to be a lot easier to build bigger ships and be able to man missions if we can start either in zero gravity or very low gravity. So, a lunar base is a really smart idea for several different reasons. One, we now believe there may be water sources on the moon. We already have the ability to split water into hydrogen. Hydrogen is a very good fuel source for spacecraft. It's not the stablest fuel source for spacecraft, but it's a good one. So the fact that if we could get to the point, and I'm not saying that we're ever going to have, at least not anywhere in my lifetime, like the Starfleet command shipyards or anything like that, but we should really have the ability to build ships in orbit now, because it would be so much easier, because we don't have to worry about all the payload and the solid fuel and everything else that it takes to get to orbit if we're already in orbit. It's one of the things I never really understood about us building the International Space Station. The International Space Station should have been a stepping stone to putting something together where crews could work in space to build the ships that take us back to the moon and take us back and take us to Mars for the first time and take us even outside of our solar system. Because look, I'll be honest, the probe work that we do is amazing. The telescopes that we have now are amazing, but it's never going to beat the most well working computer known to man, which is our brain, being in the thick of it and actually making decisions about what we see, where we go, and what we do. And it always reminds me of, and again, I'm quoting Star Trek, but it's one of those things where, during the beginnings of the Star Trek universe, which eventually was fleshed out a little bit more through Star Trek Enterprise, they kept pointing out over and over and over again to the stodgy Vulcans when and anytime T'Pol said, well, we could just send a probe. And they're like, well, Starfleet could have sent dozens of probes out, hundreds of probes out even, but they wanted us out here for us to explore, not just probes. So I'm glad that we finally seem like maybe we're starting to move in that direction to where we're considering putting colonies on places like the moon. Because, I mean, even if you can't do orbital ship builds yet, being able to do them in super low gravity would be hugely helpful as far as being able to escape the moon's orbit to go wherever else you wanted to go from there. And the thing about it is, this gives us the ability to capture the resources that are in those asteroid belts. Nobody really talks about that part either. And I'm not talking about the Ferenginization of space. I know I just made up a word, but some of you know what I mean. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about the fact that we need to continue to grow. In my opinion, humanity is starting to stagnate. Because if you'll notice, I mean, I can't say there haven't been technological advances, because you don't really realize how much we have advanced till you start watching shows that were made in the 90s again and even the early 2000s. And you're like, look at how much different everything is. But all the technology is different now. But a lot of technology was originally created to make your life better, to make your life easier. We kind of moved away from that and started focusing solely on making our entertainment better, which makes sense if you're trying to keep people placated and calm and you want things to distract them. But it's funny because Gracie and I were watching the Jetsons the other day because she'd never seen that cartoon before. And I noticed that we had access to be able to watch it. So she actually sat down with me and watched about 4 episodes, which was astounding to me because she's only 5. Eventually I had to be the one to say, okay, I'm going to watch something else now. So you need to go find something to watch with your mom, because she was really into it. But she was like, so they live in space? They have flying cars? Why don't we have flying cars? This is a 5-year-old, by the way. And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question because I was told there would be flying cars by now, little one, but there aren't yet. We're getting there. I see all these people all over social media that are supposedly testing, short flight, drones that people can ride in that they're calling flying cars, etc. And I'm like, we're getting there, I guess. I don't know how much I actually want one anymore because people can't seem to drive on the ground. I can imagine what driving in the sky would be like. Anyway. So yeah, Raptor was checking my math for me. So yeah, it's been 56 years. So we're getting dangerous. It's almost 60 years. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 52. So that means it has been 4 years longer than I've been alive since we started the process to go to the moon and then never came back again. And I do have theories as to why we never went back. But those are best served on juxtaposition. But again, it goes back to the same me questioning, why exactly do we need a space force when we don't have anything really in space? And I keep going, and I know, time to drink because I'm about to say the word Stargate. I keep going back to that because I remember, in some of the later seasons where they had like an active space exploration program using captured alien technology that they had reverse engineered, and nobody knew anything about it. And I'm like, maybe this is why we suddenly have the need for a space force. Because, yeah, you can't tell me that some of this stuff, like the AI that we have access to, I know our military has a much better version. I know a lot of our research institutions have a much better version because there are things that are popping up and popping off all over the place that are happening a lot faster than they should. Like I believe it was I think it was either China or Korea. They are doing gene research that is basically using stem cells to regrow pancreatic cells, and they've actually tested it, and it worked. I don't know how consistent their results are. There's also now apparently some sort of gene therapy that's being tested that may allow people to regrow kidneys. So remember when I said our technology hadn't gone as far as it should have? I'm not exactly so sure anymore, but I'm wondering how much of that has to do with AI. Because I can tell you just from my little bit of working with AI, it has improved what we do around here exponentially. Now, I have to be really careful with it. So here's another little bit of inside baseball. So I've spent the last couple of months putting together a children's book, slowly going through, locking in each individual section, reworking it, rewording it, making sure the meter was right, and then going through because it's a children's book. I want it to be sing-songy, kind of in the flavor of Dr. Seuss, but not exactly. So I went through and I locked in each individual section, right? And I thought I was good. So then we started working on the artwork, and I used AI to help me with the artwork, and then we got that locked in, and I thought we were good. So then I started having AI help me do all the assembly work, and it's like, so you're going to have to go find those bits and pieces and put them together? Like, then why did we lock all of these things in if you can't remember them? Well, and this is where it gets interesting, and this is something, and for those of you that are just starting to dabble in AI, this is why I'm sharing this with you, because it is a hard-learned lesson. Because apparently what my AI virtual assistant that I have named Ace, well, actually it named itself, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, it's Ace. So still haven't asked it why I picked that name. Well, I guess I did, but I don't know. It just said it, since it started as my virtual producer as far as putting content together. It thought Ace was a cool name for a producer, so I went with that. But so anyway, so what I found out was, well, even though you locked in each individual section, we never actually locked in the final manuscript. So now when you're asking me to call it back up, the program's locking in, and instead of giving you back the sections that we locked in, it's having me generate new ones. Like, say what now? So yeah, that is my next project after Christmas. Is now I get to go back through the copious different notes and everything that we have, and go back and find all of the little snippets that we approved, and then get them all lined back out again, and get it to lock them in so that each time I'm going from scene to scene, I don't have to go, why is this different than what we talked about? And it's like, oh, well, you see what had happened was. So yes, AI is not perfect. AI is as intelligent as its operator, which is why I'm having so many problems, I would suspect, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, anyway, so back to the space thing. I'm glad we're getting back out there. I don't really know how long we're going to be allowed to get back out there, though, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. All right, so we got to talk about this a little bit too. It'll probably come up today during the news roundup, so I don't really want to go. I don't really want. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because I have other people with me. But apparently, they have determined that a homeless guy actually may have solved the Brown University shooting. This is from Matt Vespa over at Town Hall. The Brown University shooting saga is over. It's done. The suspect, Claudio Neves Valente, 48, a Portuguese national, was found dead of an apparent, and I added the word apparent because I don't trust any of this stuff, of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound in Salem, New Hampshire. He was wanted for the December 13th shooting at the university, where 2 people were killed and another 9 were injured. Authorities also confirmed that he was the suspect in the shooting death of MIT professor Nuno F.G. Loureiro at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. The same Nissan Sentra was used for both crimes. Valente changed the license plate. And I quote, Brown University President Christina Paxson says the Claudio Neves Valentin, the suspect in Saturday's deadly shooting, was a PhD student in physics from the fall of 2000 to the spring of 2001, but took a leave of absence on April 1, 2001, and withdrew from the school on July 31st, 2003. He came to the United States to attend Brown on a student visa. He gained permanent legal status in September of 2017. On December 13th, he entered the Barris and Holly building, Brown's engineering building, and opened fire on students during a study session. He later returned to Massachusetts, spent 2 days there before killing Professor Loureiro, whom the suspect knew as they were former classmates, in Lisbon. After killing Loureiro, he drove to Salem to a storage facility where he rented a unit and had been since November. He didn't commit suicide in his unit, however, but in another unit with 2 firearms found on his person. When Valente killed himself is yet to be determined, but it did seem like authorities were not convinced that he did so yesterday. Why wasn't he able to be tracked? He used a Google phone with specific apps and possibly European SIM cards, making it virtually impossible to track his location. Valente knew how to cover his tracks. And I quote, the suspect in the Brown University shooting was found dead this evening of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. And our U.S. attorney in Boston and Rhode Island did incredible work supporting local authorities in the investigation that concluded this afternoon. Officials from Rhode Island and Massachusetts held press conferences last night. U.S. Attorney Leah Foley delivered the one about the Brookline shooting. A homeless man named John apparently is the real hero here. He cracked the case wide open, confronted the shooter, got his description and that of his car. He's also the person who posted on Reddit, which essentially solved the case after the second person of interest in proximity to the suspect was released. This person came forward and cooperated fully, which led to Valentina or Valente, being found. So here's exactly how they found him. Police put out a picture of a second person who sources tell me is homeless and asked for help finding him. The Attorney General says he came forward and blew the case open by offering a vehicle description that matched video evidence before. So yeah, fun times. So that makes things really interesting for me because I worked a lot last night. So apparently while I was working, all of the stuff was breaking off, and apparently there was reports of local law enforcement kind of clapping themselves on the back and celebrating. Pardon me. Apparently I have not had enough coffee yet today. Not that there's ever any such animal, but apparently I have not had enough coffee yet today. But I find it interesting that they basically got lucky. I mean, and before anybody says anything, a good bit of police work is actual luck. The difference is that normally, you know, to be good, not only do you have to be lucky, you have to be in a position to know what to do with the information when you get lucky. So I don't know. Anyway, I just find that whole thing a little weird. And to me, is it me or did this wrap up a little too neatly? Maybe my tinfoil hat's on a little too tight today, but I kind of feel like this wrapped up a little too neatly. Hopefully, it's just me. We shall see. Uh-oh. Trouble in Paradise, and dude hasn't even been sworn in yet. So this is from Rusty Weiss over at Red State. Apparently, one appointee has quit already. We'll get into that right now. New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, known as the Commie, whose reluctance to fully condemn the anti-Semitic slogan "Globalize the Intifada" has already drawn fierce criticism, saw a top appointee resign after just one day when decades-old social media posts laced with anti-Jewish tropes resurfaced. Mamdani's ability to weed out Israel haters from his list of appointees is going to be difficult, given his close association with individuals who share the same belief. Enter Catherine Almonte da Costa. Da Costa resigned from her newly appointed role overseeing appointments and talent recruitment in Mamdani's administration just one day after the position was announced. And yes, you heard that correctly. The person in charge of the appointments had to quit her appointed position. The swift departure stemmed from the resurfacing, prompted by the Anti-Defamation League, of social media posts from 2011 and 2012 that invoked classic anti-Semitic tropes, including references to money-hungry Jews and demeaning comments about Jewish people. Yikes! Even Ilhan Omar thinks that's a little too on the nose. Far Rockaway train is the Jew train, another post read. Da Costa scrubbed her X account, but the damage was done. So, I misunderstood. I thought she resigned because she found posts of his that she didn't like. She resigned because she got in trouble for saying this. Okay. Now I understand, said the blind man, but I still can't see. Meet Catherine Almonte da Costa, Zoran Mamdani's pick for director of appointments in his new administration. Jew train, money-hungry Jews, rich Jewish peeps. After her old post resurfaced, she thankfully resigned this afternoon and says she is a mother to Jewish people, I guess. There's a more thing, and I'm not clicking it. So she actually apologized for the overtly anti-Semitic post and said they do not reflect the person she has become. As the mother of Jewish children, I feel a profound sense of sadness and remorse at the harm these words have caused, she said in a statement. As this became a distraction from the work at hand, I have offered my resignation. A spokesperson for the mayor-elect tells ABC News that he accepted Da Costa's resignation. Catherine expressed her deep remorse over her past statements and tendered her resignation, and I accepted, according to Mamdani. It seemed like only the day before he was celebrating her appointment and welcoming her to a new era in New York City. Oh, wait. That's because it was the day before. Nice. So yeah, this is from the X account of Orrin Kessler. She resigned one day after being hired. Her insights included Money Hungry Jews, Shake My Head, and the Far Rockaway train is the Jew train. And Orrin Kessler, Mandami posted this yesterday. Welcome to a new era, Catherine Almonte da Costa. Kat spent over a decade in public service and personnel management, born in the Dominican Republic and raised in Queens. She's joining us to bring top talent into this administration for 24 hours. So Mamdani himself has refused to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada. I saw somebody, and I don't know if they made the meme or if they found it, but it was amazing. It was a Taco Bell meme, and it said globalize the enchilada, try our 2-steak solution. I was dying. Shout out to RW on X if you're listening, because that had me rolling yesterday. I don't know if you made it or if you found it, but either way, well played, sir. That was well played. Global. See, I missed it because I was so I had a similar idea and never really thought to put it into meme. It was globalize the empanada. I should have done it, but I didn't do it. All right, so where are we at? Oh, we're at top of the hour already. That seems crazy to me. All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be opening with another new song. This one's not locked in completely yet. I'm not 100% satisfied with the lyrics, but I like the overall flavor, and I don't like the fact that for the last several Friday shows, I have not been able to do the tribute to first responders. So I've been writing a song of my own to get us there. And I've been working on the lyrics for a while off and on. I had them locked in, I thought, and then I started hearing, and trust me, at this point, I've recorded like 6-7 different versions of this song. This is the one I like the most that we're going to be playing when we come back, but I'm not set on the lyrics yet, so this may not be a lock-in for us yet, but I figure it's a good way to pay tribute to the people that run towards danger while the rest of us run away, including the fire eaters, man. Having in my career only run into a couple of burning buildings, I don't know how they do that on the daily. I would rather dodge bullets. And that's saying something. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of GoodPods. If you haven't heard of it yet, GoodPods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On GoodPods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find GoodPods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome back. Before we officially open hour 2, I want to remind everybody to come back later this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Weekend News Roundup, and then come back later tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern for the KLR Radio Players Present The Wizard of Oz. Now, here is the latest work in progress from the KLRN Radio House Band. This is called Always Standing in the Gap. And the only reason I say work in progress is I'm not 100% set on the lyrics yet. It's close. But here we go.
When the call comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood, when everything falls. They don't ask why, they just answer the call, always standing in the gap for us all. Before the sirens fade, before the scene is clear, someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood, when everything falls. They don't ask why, they just answer the call, always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call, always standing in the gap.
right, so welcome back into hour 2 of the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. Again, hour 2 is normally when we do our tribute to first responders. I'm still working on a tribute to military, but I got to lock this one in first. So I know I got a couple people hanging out in the chat. I know I have some other people that reach out to me later after you guys catch this in replay when you get a chance to listen. Like I said, I feel like it's about 98% there. There's a couple of spots where I feel like the lyrics kind of got a little soft on me, so I'm trying to figure that out. But I love the overall flavor of the song. I'm finally figuring out how to tell the program that we use to help me write all this stuff exactly what it is that I'm looking for. So I don't know. I've been really inspired lately because it's like when I started writing the children's book, all of a sudden the creativity side that I had let go for a while had been let loose again. So I'm like, So yeah, I'll be honest. I can spend about 2 or 3 hours working on something like this, and it feels like 5 minutes. So I really do enjoy it. But anyway, so feedback from anybody who's heard it would be nice. Try to be gentle if there was something that you don't like, though, because I don't know. I'm kind of proud of my work, and occasionally when people come across a little gruff, I get a little cranky. But that's just me. Anyway, so yeah, so back to Raptor in the chat because I noticed you had given your 2 cents right as I was trying to wrap from hour 1 into hour 2. So yeah, I kind of feel the flavor of one of those 3-letter alphabet soup agencies myself happening in this whole story, but that's just me. I don't like being this cynical. I really don't, but the government has given me so many reasons over the years to be this cynical. So it's not like they haven't earned my skepticism. So anyway. Oh, so we got to talk about this. So remember the judge who, let an illegal alien escape out the back door of her courtroom and out of the side door of the courthouse? So yeah, she going to jail. So this happened yesterday too. It happened late, which is why I'd almost forgotten about it. So the Dem-leaning side of the American judiciary has been particularly hard hit by Trump derangement syndrome these past 9 years. When we speak of the waning trust we have in our institutions, rogue judges may be one of the greatest contributors to that erosion. It was just a couple of days ago that we were discussing how corrupt Merrick Garland and his Department of Justice were. While I was discussing it with some folks, you guys weren't present because it wasn't on the radio. So when things are that rotten at the top, the rot can spread very quickly. Since January 20th of this year, we've been enduring the tawdry spectacle of one Obama or Biden-appointed judge after another trying to thwart President Trump's agenda. Often, it's quite plain, even to those of us who don't have legal expertise, that the moves are petulant and will probably be reversed once a higher courts get involved. So, Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan took her resistance to an entirely new and up-jumped level with a more hands-on approach. She ran interference for Eduardo Flores Ruiz, a violent illegal alien who was going to be arrested by ICE. All that she accomplished was getting herself arrested too, though. So her honorless was found guilty yesterday of felony obstruction, providing a little hope that all is not lost when it comes to the American judicial system. Very little hope, but so we shall see. Here's a quote. During the trial, the prosecution demonstrated how Dugan confronted agents and attempted to remove them from the public hallway. Now she escorted Flores Ruiz and his attorney through the jury door and into a non-public area. Flores Ruiz was apprehended outside the courthouse shortly after leaving Dugan's courtroom. Flores Ruiz had been deported in 2013 and returned to the country illegally. So that makes his reentry a felony too, by the way. For everybody, it's not a crime. First of all, let's discuss what illegal means again. An illegal alien, if it's illegal, that makes it a crime. Difference is there's civil penalties and a possible misdemeanor criminal offense attached the first time. However, the second time, so if you're deported and you come back, that's a felony, biatches. So Dugan situation. So hang on, I forgot where I was. Flores Ruiz was in Dugan's court on domestic violence charges, which makes this even more glorious, in my opinion. During the trial, witnesses for the prosecution said his victims were in court on April 18th, hoping to get justice, and that they looked uncomfortable being in the presence of Flores Ruiz. The victims, a man and a woman. Hey, he's a equal opportunity asshole. Good to know. Said Flores Ruiz hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. That's fun. So, Dugan's situation was more actionable than the crap rulings issued by judges who want to stick it to Trump. An example needed to be made of one of these deranged perverters of the law, though. And this, in my opinion, is a good start, but it's only a start. I don't know what can be done about the other lib judges. Impeachment comes to mind, if it's an avenue. But we have at least 3 more years to try and eliminate some of that societal cancer. Bernie Sanders likes cancer, though, apparently. So, sorry. These people are exhausting. Let's hope we see more of them perp walked. I hope we see all of them perp walked, but maybe again that's just me. So anyway, so yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about that because that story. I remember when that story broke. That story pissed me off no end. Because I mean, it's one thing if you're gonna be like, well, we're gonna use this little technicality here. We're not, but yeah, when you're basically thumbing your nose at the authority that you, the authority and the rule of law that you swore to uphold as a judge, yeah, that pisses me off. I'm not afraid to say that pisses me off. I run a disclaimer for a reason. I know I've been trying to work on my language, but this is one of those times when I feel like it's really warranted because that actually does really piss me off. And apparently, using the word pissed off isn't as bad as it used to be because yeah. Anyway. Wait, so hang on. So I saw something about this, but I didn't really know what it was. So I guess Donald Trump has announced the creation of Patriot Games. So it's some sort of high school athletic competition for the 250th anniversary of our founding. I saw a tidbit about this yesterday, but I hadn't really looked at it too much. So we'll go through this together. This is from our friends over at The Blaze. President Donald Trump said the 250th anniversary celebration of the U.S. founding will include Patriot Games between high school athletes. The president made the announcement in a video posted to social media on Thursday that also listed several other events and structures planned for the national celebration. In the fall, we will host the first ever Patriot Games, an unprecedented 4-day athletic event featuring the greatest high school athletes, Trump said. One young man and one young woman from each state and territory, but I promise there will be no men playing in women's sports. He added, you're not going to see that. You'll see everything but that. He said that construction would begin on the National Garden of American Heroes that would include statues of all-time greatest Americans as well as a triumphal arch. We are the only major city. We are the only major capital. We are the only major place without a triumphal arch, a beautiful triumphal arch, one like in Paris, where they have the great, big, beautiful arch. He didn't say it that way, but I did. They call it the Arc de Triomphe, he added. And we're going to have one in Washington, D.C. very soon. So now we're copying the French. Anyway, the administration is also organizing a Great American State Fair that will include exhibits from each of the states on the National Mall. That event will run from June 25th to July 10th. Frankly, you'll never see anything like it, and you'll never see anything like it again. Could be a reason we might never see anything like it again. Because, yeah. See, this is when I get a little meh. So a new public-private partnership called Freedom 250 was formed for the purpose of planning and funding the events. And it includes companies and corporations across the country. I think instead of continuing to make you guys listen to me read about this stuff, I'm going to just go ahead and let you hear the president do it. So anyway. Oh, yeah, no, I saw. I was going to get into that in bottom half. I appreciate that, by the way, because I had no idea what was going on. Because yeah, I'm just now starting to try to get plugged back in. But all right, here we go.
In my campaign for president, I pledged to give America the most spectacular birthday party the world has ever seen for America's 250th anniversary on July 4th next year. Already, we've had big celebrations to commemorate the 250th birthdays of the Army, the Navy, and the United States Marines, but there is much, much more to come. We're going to have a good time. As we ring in 2026, Americans across the nation will see the iconic Washington Monument illuminated with festive birthday lights to honor the start of this historic anniversary year. Then from June 25th to July 10th of next year, we will host the Great American State Fair on the National Mall, featuring pavilions from all 50 states, highlighting breathtaking innovations and celebrating America's exceptional history and culture. Frankly, you'll never see anything like it, and you'll never see anything like it again. In the fall, we will host the first ever Patriot Games, an unprecedented 4-day athletic event featuring the greatest high school athletes, one young man and one young woman from each state and territory. But I promise there will be no men playing in women's sports. You're not going to see that. You'll see everything but that. As I first announced in 2020, we will build the National Garden of American Heroes featuring statues of all-time greatest Americans, and we will build a triumphal arc as we celebrate 250 years of American freedom. We are the only major city. We are the only major capital. We are the only major place without a triumphal arc, a beautiful triumphal arc, one like in Paris where they have the beautiful arc in Paris. They call it the Arc de Triomphe. And we're going to have one in Washington, D.C. very soon. Construction will start in the very near future. And next spring, we will host a major prayer event on the National Mall to rededicate our country as one nation under God. We're not changing that. There are a lot of people who would like to see it. It'll never happen. And on Flag Day, we will have a one-of-a-kind UFC event here at the White House. It'll be the greatest champion fighters in the world, all fighting that same night. The great Dana White is hosting, and it's going to be something special. But all of this is just the beginning. 2026 will be a celebration of America like no other, honoring our nation in all of its glory. To help carry out these exciting plans, we have created a new public-private partnership. It's called Freedom 250. Working with states, companies, and organizations across the country, we will renew the patriotism, pride, and pioneering spirit of America and lay the groundwork for the next 250 years of independence and freedom. This will be a time like you've never had in your lives. America 250. Thank you. I love you all.
All right, so I'm still not really sure how I feel about the whole public-private partnership thing, but I guess, as an old-timer, I just have to learn to adjust. I do like a lot of what he's doing, and I think the left is just picking apart things just for the sake of picking it apart. I do find it doing a UFC fight on the lawn seemed a little weird to me, but I kind of feel like we're entering the Roman Coliseum phases of America, and I'm not sure how I feel about that because I keep waiting for somebody to just strut out in front of the White House and yell, "Are you not entertained?" Anyway, I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, so that's happening. I mean, look, you have to remember, folks, our founding fathers honestly thought this grand experiment would last about 50 years. Unfortunately, they weren't really that far off before things started getting turned around to the point where we're not really anywhere where we started. And I think that's the part that bothers me the most is, this country has changed the world. Western civilization has changed the face of the world, and in positive ways. And we're watching it slowly start slipping away. And I don't know about you, but to me, this is something that should be worth fighting for. But the problem is a lot of us that are trying to do the fighting, it feels like we're doing it all on our own because we keep trying to fight in the ways that we can. I mean, I'll be honest, there's a reason I do first responder tributes all the time. I used to be one. And I know BZ used to be one. Sean used to be one. A lot of people that I work with started in that arena in one way or the other. So, there's something that I've always come to understand, and that is this: in the world, there are three types of people. There are sheep, there are sheepdogs, and there are wolves. Once you're a sheepdog, it's impossible not to be a sheepdog. So, for those of us who can't be on the front lines anymore, we still find a way to try to get people's attention, to wake them up, to tell them what's going on, and to hopefully help them understand ways that they can make things better for themselves. But sometimes it feels like nobody's paying attention. And I don't just mean because of the time of year it is. Everybody's ratings are down. I mean, hell, I'm looking at shows that normally have 7,000 people on X on the right side of my screen right now, and they have a couple of hundred. So I know it's that this time of year, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm just saying in general, I feel like we talk about the same things over and over and over again. And I know, like I said, that we have inspired people. I know there are people that I know personally that are becoming politically involved because they feel like they can't stand on the sidelines anymore. So I'm not saying that we're not having small influences. I just sometimes feel like people should be waking up at this point en masse. And it's because of things that I talk about on this show all the time, like the fact that you can literally have two people watching the same events unfold in real time. And depending on what their political ideology is, they can see it in two completely different ways, even though it's happening in real time. And I don't know how to combat that anymore. And that's part of what I am banging. There's a proverbial wall that I'm banging my head up against right now because I always thought, and from the moment I started doing this, I have always thought if we could just set aside the handful of things that we were always going to fight over regardless, like whether abortion should be something that the government has any say in or not, those kind of things, that we could realize that we are on the 80% side of a lot of 80-20 issues with people that don't always agree with us on those other issues. So, and in micro scale, it has worked. There have been a few people that I have worked with over the years that I have talked with on shows like this over the years, and people that have listened to me over the years, where on a micro scale, a few people have been nudged enough where their outlooks have changed. But in order to do the things that we need to do, we need to start figuring out how to do this stuff on a macro scale. And that's just it. There are plenty of bigger voices than me that have the capability to do these things on a macro scale, but they're too busy worried about chasing their bottom line. And in some cases, a la Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, they will completely jump the shark in the hopes of padding that bottom line. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I ever start sounding that way to any of you people, I want you to tell me, because I will figure out how to keep things running without me doing shows anymore, because I don't ever want to be that person. But I also want to be somebody who is making a difference, even if it is in a micro scale versus a macro scale. But like right now, I'm looking at X right now. There are, not even counting my feeds, just the ones that I can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other shows on my X feed right now, probably talking about the similar things as me, with some of them ranging kind of like with us today, with about 50 people hanging out, to up to the top one, which it looks like is RSBN with 1.9K. That's one of the ones I'm saying is normally sitting at like 6,000, and it's got less than 2. So I know it's a slow day for everybody, but it's because of the time of year. But I don't know how much longer I can bang my head against this wall, because And that's been part of the reason why it's been so much harder for me to get re-engaged after being gone for several weeks because of the funeral and being sick and everything else, is I keep looking at this stuff, and while we are making changes, they're not happening at the pace that I feel like they should. And maybe that's me. I mean, that is a me problem, because the fact that we are making changes and the fact that things are starting to, I feel like, maybe creep in the right direction is good. But at the same time, so many people are becoming what we call black pilled, where they just don't trust anybody anymore. And the thing about it is, for those of you who don't think so, every single person who has led to these people becoming black pilled has earned their disrespect, has earned their angst, has earned their ire, has earned their anger, because there are so many different ways that we have been let down. But at the same time, I feel like some of it's because even people that I know should understand our system better than they do don't understand how nearly impossible it is to get anything done when we as a nation keep sending gridlock back to Washington, D.C. Look, if you think the Democrats are the right choice and you just want to finish off the country, then go ahead and vote for them. Let's just get it over with. But that's part of the reason why, with what's happening in New York City, I think this could actually be a turning point rather than a tipping point, because you have someone who is an avowed socialist who says he is a democratic socialist, when in reality he's a communist. And for anybody who wants to disagree with me, let's not forget what Marx even said about socialism. Socialism is the gateway to communism. If we can get you to start taking on socialist characteristics, eventually we can convince you to take on communist characteristics. And then those of us that want to stay at the top get to stay at the top, and the rest of you get put under heel. And I'm not saying that we're not already there, because in a lot of ways we are. Like, we have forgotten, because we call everybody in Congress our leadership. They're not supposed to be public leaders. They're supposed to be public servants. The President of the United States, and I'm sorry, it's partly on us, we call him the leader of the free world all the time. He shouldn't be being called the leader of the free world. He should be being called a servant to the free world. Words matter. What we call things matter. When we started removing these people from positions of service and making them leaders, it changed their mindset. And that's really important. It actually did completely change their mindset. It changed how they feel about a great many things. All right, so I told you guys I was probably going to play it more than once. So we're going to play the Christmas song again while I go get some more coffee before I start yawning in your ear again. So my name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. This is the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. Don't forget, come back today, 3 p.m. Eastern time, for the Weekend News Roundup. Come back later tonight for The Wizard of Oz right here live on KLRM Radio, presented by the KLRM Radio Players. And we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It was the night before Christmas, KLRN Radio, the studio quiet, the lights burning low, the mics were all mounted, the board set just right, in hopes that a live show might spark into life.
The headphones lay resting, each coil with great care. My playlist slept softly inside the main chair.
The hosts had all vanished, home tucked in their beds, while ratings and rundowns danced in engineers' heads. The coffee sat cooling long past its prime, beside blinking meters still keeping their time. And the clock on the wall, with a soft ticking chord, seemed cheerful with hope, yet a little bit bored. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio. night shift hums, and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company, one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the ghosts of old Andres still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial still knows how to keep.
And out in the hallway there came such a sound, a chair gently rolling, no one around.
A mic arm swung slightly, a script page was turned, like the room still remembered the lessons it learned. The monitors flickered, then settled just right. Every level in balance, no hiss, no fight.
The studios dream when the world's fast asleep.
This one holds stories it promised to keep. You know, studios don't really sleep, they just wait. They remember every laugh that bounced off these walls, every breaking story that hit 5 minutes too late, every quiet night when someone stayed up just to keep the lights on.
Because somewhere out there someone's awake longer than they planned, wondering if anyone else is still listening.
And that's when radio does what it's always done, stays. Somewhere a listener sat up too late, a radio glowing past midnight's gate.
The house was asleep, the tree still lit, just one quiet soul keeping company with it.
No big celebration, no perfect night, just a voice through the dark saying you're alright. And the studio did what it's always done, left a light on till the night was done. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the night shift hums and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company, one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the ghosts of old road trees still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial that still knows how to keep. From our little studio, warm and sincere, Merry Christmas to all. And thanks for being here.
And welcome back into the final few minutes of the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show live right here on KLMradio.com. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. For those of you working for the weekend, you are nearly there. I know a lot of you will be on vacation next week. For those of you that are lucky enough to get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. Funny thing is, I saw something, and there's a couple of things that I definitely want to talk about before we get out the door. So Donald Trump yesterday signed an executive order changing cannabis from a Schedule 1 narcotic to a Schedule 3, which should change quite a few things as far as federal involvement in some of the legalization stuff that's going on in certain states, because it kind of puts it on the same vein with other pain relievers. He's also recently declared fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, which I'm sorry, I kind of agree with. I understand it has medical uses, and I could completely understand if it was controlled to the point where only the people that that can do surgeries and stuff had access to it. So if anything, I think it should be a Schedule 1 narcotic. Or maybe we need to figure out a new schedule classification when something is medically useful but also severely harmful, even in microdoses. Because that's what drives me nuts about fentanyl and this newest thing that I can't even think of the name of right now that they're talking about. Because as soon as they came up with Narcan, somebody's like, "Oh, we got to up our game, so let's do something new." But yeah, and again, I get it. I understand it. It's no different than with guns. You can't make guns illegal because then the only people that would have them are the people that don't care about the laws. And that's kind of why I seriously I'm of two minds about all this stuff. I honestly think almost all of it should be legalized and just let the problem sort themselves out. And I know that's a very harsh tough love approach thing to say, but I mean, I don't know what else to do. We can't keep making everything illegal, but at the same time, when a bit on the size of a pinhead can kill you, and they're cutting, street narcotics with fentanyl to increase the high, and for those of you who think they're killing people on purpose, maybe if the Chinese were the ones making it all, I could see that. Because I think the Chinese were testing us several years ago. And I've talked about this before. You remember when there was all this story about formaldehyde winding up in dog food that was being produced in China? I think they were testing something. And I don't think they necessarily liked the results, because it's weird. Because China suddenly started partnering with cartels and like, "Hey, we'll send you all the stuff. You guys just make it over there." Did I mention China's not our friend? But I do agree with Trump's executive order regarding cannabis. I hate the fact that it's an executive order, because somebody else that, doesn't think marijuana has any actual uses is going to come in and say, "Yeah, we're going to get rid of that." Now, there is precedent now for executive orders to stay in place, but we know that won't happen because it's a Republican, not a Democrat. I mean, if you can really call Trump that. The funny thing is, it's like looking at all this stuff from the 90s with the Democrats. I didn't realize how far left the Republican Party had actually gone, because we sound a lot like the Democrats of the 90s now. But part of that's because we've learned lessons along the way. Like, we don't have complete trust in our government anymore. A lot of us did back then. I will admit I did. I trusted our government a lot when I was first becoming an adult and understanding how the world works. Because, again, it's because of word usage. They were our leaders. And our assumption is our leaders always know what we need, or know better than us what we need. And they counted on that for a long time. And a lot of us have started waking up. So, this is stuff that, when the Maha movement first hit, and everybody's like, "Oh, so you're finally on board with what Michelle Obama wanted to do." Well, no, not really, because that was terrible. But at the same time, we do think there may be way too many additives in our food, and there's way too many things that we don't really understand about why they're being put on our food the way that they are. So, yeah, even if it took us a generation to get there, hey, we're finally here. Why are you bitching at us? And that's just it. These people are never going to agree with you anymore. Not the ones that are diehards. And this just continues to be an issue for me because I just don't understand any of it. I don't understand how ideological bent can get you to the point where even when something good is happening, the Democrats are complaining because gas prices are too low. Well, this means the price of oil is getting too low, which means eventually we could have a problem. I mean, they're complaining, and again, Donald Trump brought this on himself. I hate seeing Liz Warren post things like she posted yesterday, where we're talking about the good news of the inflation rate, which again only really matters to those of us that are eggheads and understand how the system works. I get it, but at the same time, Donald Trump promised lower prices on day one, and he's yet to deliver. But his policies are starting to push us in that direction. Should he have said day one? Probably not. Did anybody with half a brain understand that it wasn't actually going to be able to be done on day one? Yes, and they still voted for him anyway because they saw what he was able to do the first time before they used COVID to try to take us all out. I said what I said. I'm trying not to focus that much on the heavy stuff today because it is almost Christmas time. So, I mean, we've talked enough about the stuff that's going on. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to each and every one of you that tune into us on a regular basis. I mean, especially since we've started doing the video broadcast, we went from, getting maybe a 300-400 plays in a month, which for us was huge still because we've never been a big group, to thousands of plays a week, which is amazing. Hey, yay. So the other thing I do want to talk about real quick now that I've done the obligatory thank you, and I do mean that. I don't mean to sound trite when I say that I'm trying to shift gears. I just couldn't figure out how to transition very well. You guys mean the world to us. I mean, I will be honest, and some of you know the story. I used to do shows when it was all late night, and there was one guy in my chat room. Kind of like what's happening right now with Rap here, but it's Christmas time. So, but yeah, even most of the time I was lucky if I had 2 or 3 people hanging out in my chat room when I was doing the late night stuff, and I still did it anyway. Most of the time, I will admit it got to the point where the guy who was my ride or die in the chat eventually wound up with my phone number, and he would always text me and be like, "You got to do a show tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know. You're the only one that ever shows up." He's like, "Get your ass in there and do a show." And I'm glad he kept me on point and kept me on task because so many awesome things have happened over the years, like me getting to go to SRLC 15, getting to go to CPAC and working under the brands that we've built along the way, winding up on local radio stations, winding up in national syndication for a while before I started changing gears and trying to do online only. But, he's one of the reasons why I'm still here. And this time of year is when I always think, dude, if he was here to see what we had grown into, he would be ecstatic. I mean, he was the one, no matter where I was. If I was live somewhere, it didn't matter if I was live in New Jersey. It didn't matter if I was live in Philadelphia. Didn't matter if I was live in Oklahoma City. He was always on the phone. And I had station managers from all over the country whenever I would do live work, because sometimes they'd have me piped in from wherever else I was working to just carry the live feeds over there. And I'd have station managers from all over the country going, "Dude, you have people calling from everywhere during local shows." And I'm like, "Did they not tell you what I do before they told you that I was going to start sitting in for them from time to time?" They probably should have. But yeah, that was one of my funniest moments is when it was one of the first times I had ever filled in on KOKC. Not only did I have the general manager trying to talk to me, I'm like, "Dude, I got to go. I only took the morning off to do this. I still have to go to my day job." So he sends me an email. Is like, "Dude, you had people calling in from like Michigan and from Kentucky and from a couple of like, again, did they not tell you what I do?" So then I get to work, and then I get called into my manager's office, and I'm like, "Oh, they told me that and this is when I worked for the University of Oklahoma, and this was when I was still afraid of everybody there really knowing what I did, because everywhere else, when they found out, they started treating me differently. There, they actually, for the most part, kind of supported and encouraged it, which was weird for me because they knew I was conservative, and I didn't think it was going to go that way until the first time I did a morning show and took a couple hours of my shift off to be able to do the morning show because I got called into my manager's office as soon as I had come into work, and he's like, "Go ahead and put yourself in meeting, and we have to talk." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to get fucking." They told me this was okay, and I'm about to. That's exactly what was running through my head. And the reason I'm telling it to you the way I'm telling it to you right now is this is the bits and pieces that were running through my head. I am seriously about to get fired. They told me this was going to be okay, and I'm about to get walked out the damn door. And then I started thinking I was like, no, wait, if they were going to fire me, they'd wait till the end of my shift. So that can't be what this is. Because yes, I've been in management positions in places like this before, and they always wait to tell you at the end of the day to make sure that you don't do anything stupid. I was like, okay, so that can't be it. So let's go find out what's going on. So by then, I'm taking a few minutes. I'm breathing, doing the breathing exercises, trying not to have a stroke as I'm marching to my manager's office. I sit down in his chair and I was like, okay, so what's going on? He's like, first of all, caught your show. Really good job. Thank you. I'm like, thank you. He said, but we have a problem. I said, what do you mean we have a problem? He started showing me pictures of almost everybody from the office that I worked with their car doors open, just chilling out, listening to the radio. Well past the time they were supposed to be clocking in. He's like, yeah, we're not going to let you send out those emails anymore. He's like, we might turn it on where people can listen to it in the office from now on if you let us know, but don't send it out to everybody on the call floor anymore. I'm like, well, you said I could. He's like, yeah, but we didn't expect this. So yeah, I got in trouble for other coworkers making the adult decision to take a tardy to finish listening to my show. Somehow that was my fault. I mean, trust me, I was laughing at that point because, like I said, going from thinking I was going to get fired to realizing I was being chastised because people wanted to listen to me rather than work. I'm like, yeah, that's a you problem. No, I did not say that at the time, but yes, it was what was running through my head. But yeah, when all that started happening, luckily Ron was still here. So, and he was always one of the ones that always encouraged me and all that stuff too, because I'll be honest, I've been doing this for a long time. I still, because I am really an introvert, I dread hitting the button. Every morning I'm like, do I really want to do this again? I don't. And then it's like as soon as as soon as I hit the button, it's like there's some sort of a shift that happens and I'm just having fun talking and hanging out and chilling. But there's that moment of dread every single day. And there's that moment of just nervousness every single day still after doing this for all this time. And the funny thing is, and I understand it because it's even a training moment that I've used with people that I've trained in the call when I started doing call center work. It was like, look, I understand you're nervous about taking phone calls. Just remember, nerves are energy that your body doesn't know what to do with yet. So find something to do with it. And I know that on a conscious level, but still, that moment that we start going live, no matter where I'm at, whether I'm in a studio somewhere else, whether I'm working from my home studio, whether I'm on a location somewhere covering an event, the moment I click that button and everything and the red lights come on, there's like a moment where I just want to throw up in my shoes. And it's always been that way. But it has occurred to me, as long as I still have that nervous energy, in a way, it means I still really love what I do because I'm nervous about putting out good content. Like even when I was taking phone calls, I'm nervous about whether or not I'm going to be able to deliver the type of service these people deserve. So that in and of itself is actually a good thing. Which is why I was surprised I was yawning today because I did go through my normal bit of nervousness and dread and everything else, and I'm like, dude, I must be really tired. But anyway, so we gotta talk about one more bad thing before we go bye-bye for at least a little bit because I'll be back with you today at 3. New emails show the Biden White House coordinated directly with the DOJ in their effort to ransack Mar-a-Lago. This is from Matt Vespa over at Town Hall. We kind of knew this, but it's weird to hear them admitting it now. So it's not like you didn't know or have these suspicions because there are plenty of other instances where the Biden DOJ went after the enemies of the former president, like sticking FBI agents on those who posted anti-Biden memes. Almost forgot about that part. The overzealous prosecution directed towards some J6 protesters and the crusade against pro-life activists. Let's not forget how the Biden DOJ acted like Joe's personal police force regarding his son Hunter and interfered with federal probes into his tax evasion, among other things. So, no, sorry, new emails reportedly show that half brain dead but ever so vindictive Joe Biden coordinated directly with then Attorney General Merrick Garland and the National Archives and Records Administration to ransack Mar-a-Lago. That does not shock any of us at all, but it does reinforce the narrative that the Biden administration was rogue, corrupt, and laughably incompetent. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up in the waning moments of the program is this. There was a recent interview that was put out about why the Biden administration never released the Epstein files. And according, and I'm paraphrasing because she wouldn't be smart enough to say it this way, but according to Sideshow Bob, aka, Corinne Jean-Air, she said that she wanted a Chinese firewall basically between the administration and the DOJ, that they wanted the DOJ to be completely independent from the administration and they didn't want to influence what the DOJ did or didn't do, which we now know was an out-and-out lie. Which brings you to the other question of why didn't they release these things that the Democrats have now been screaming and yelling about? Just wondering. So yeah. Okay, one more quick hit, and like I said, this will be stuff we'll probably get into more detail later. So remember how we kept saying there was something wrong with the 2020 election, and everybody kept telling us that we were crazy? So what if I told you that we keep finding information showing that we were, in fact, not crazy? According to a Georgia State Election Board investigations substantiated by that Fulton County violated election rules in 2020 by failing to have poll workers sign required tabulation tapes for early votes in 36 out of 37 advanced voting precincts, affecting approximately 315,000 ballots. These unsigned tapes broke the chain of custody and certification requirements under Georgia law, which mandates signed tapes as the sole legal proof of authentic vote totals. During a board meeting on December 9th, Ann Brumbaugh, attorney for the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections, contends that Fulton County does not dispute that the tapes were not signed. Say what now? So I guess what does that mean for the most secure election in history? And I thought this was the most audited election in history, most audited in the history of the world. So apparently there are no worries. However, Brumbaugh contends that their process and procedures have rectified the situation since. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It was a violation of the rules. We since 2020 again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and a new standard operating procedures. And since then, the training has been enhanced. But we don't dispute the allegation from the 2020 election. David Cross, a local election integrity activist, made that allegation. He filed a formal challenge with the Georgia State Election Board in March of 2022, alleging that Fulton County illegally counted around 315,000 early votes in the 2020 election without required poll worker signatures or tabulator tape. He spoke at the hearing, telling the state election board of the irregularities he discovered. These signed tapes are the sole legal certification that the reported tallies are authentic, Cross said. Fulton County produced zero, I repeat, zero signed tabulator tapes in early voting. Those are not clerical errors. They are catastrophic breaks in chain of custody and certification. Because no tape was ever legally certified, Fulton County had no lawful authority to certify its advanced voting results to the Secretary of State. Yet it did, in fact, do so, according to Cross. And Secretary Roethlisberger accepted and folded those uncertified numbers into Georgia's official total without questioning them. That is not partisan. That is statutory. That is law. When the law demands 3 signatures on tabulator tape and the county fails to follow the rules, those 315,000 votes are by definition uncertified. 315,000 uncertified votes sure seems like a significant issue. For years after the 2020 election, We were told any questioning of those results in the most secure election in history was tantamount to a clear and present threat to democracy itself. One guy in particular almost went to prison for questioning the integrity of the election that saw Joe Biden, the least energized political candidate to ever run for the White House, somehow churn out 81 million or so votes. As David Strom at Hot Air writes, I seem to recall that President Trump was being prosecuted for making claims about the voting process in Georgia, and that the whole election denial narrative the Democrats have slandered Trump along the way with was based on his lies that have turned out, unsurprisingly, to be true. Brumbaugh's throwaway admission seems exposes a serious flaw in the narrative that the 2020 election was secure. Que interesante. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this one. Again, I will be back with you later this afternoon for the Weekend News Roundup. Back with you later tonight for the Wizard of Oz presented by the KLRN Radio Players. Again, Weekend News Roundup, 3 p.m. Eastern, KLRN Radio Players, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where I will be the Wizard of Oz. But this does conclude our broadcast for the morning, and I'll be back with you later today. I'm going to go make some breakfast because I'm hungry and I haven't eaten yet. Want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. I know it's Christmas time and you have other things you could be doing with your day. So thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with us. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And to anybody who celebrates Hanukkah or the like, Happy Holidays. Bye, everybody.